Instead of the configuration of the page with a nav bar floating on an image that's trapped within the center of the page, what if you wanted everything to be full width? Well, one way to do that is just to, instead of 1200 pixels max width, just eliminate the max width for the page, refresh. Now you have things that will be full width. If I want to show a repeat of this pattern, maybe I'll just copy this div and paste it right below it, save it, refresh, and there's image 1, image 2. You can see that image 1 has floating on top of it the navigation bar, but instead of navigation bar, this could be just text. And instead of having a background color, if there was no background color, then the text would just float across this image until the next div comes up right here, and then you can use a floating layer for each div. Let me create that so each one of these will have potentially a div that can be used as a floating layer where text can be incorporated. I'll just take this nav bar, cut it from its current position, and within the div image right here, I'll paste the nav bar, which is just right now a color brick. Refresh, look at it. I'll take this nav bar again. Let me do some indentation so it looks a little neater. Actually, I could do it like this. That's a little neater. There's div to div with a navigation element or a text area element with an image. And I'll repeat that pattern for the next div. From div to div, save, refresh. When I zip on down, here's the next potential text area. What I'm also interested in, let me back this up, is just having one big hero image followed by the rest of the page. I undid all the changes, refresh, and now I'm back to this. Let me change the style sheet where I have the max width set for 1200 pixels. Refresh. Now this is trapped within here. Let's pretend this is page content that we could put in here. I want the image on the outside to be full width of the page. We just took a look at that, so we'll just recreate that. Let's get back to that spot. I'm going to take this div and I'm going to move it outside of the page. Start there. Fresh. So this can be a solution, not necessarily the solution that you're looking for, but it's a solution. We have this big hero image that then centers. And we have a centering element of the page. Now this nav bar should really go on top. Let me take the nav bar, which is currently here. And I'll put it into the outer div, or I could put it into this one. Let's try on the outer. So now we have a navigation bar that will stretch the full width. And you would use Flexbox to position the elements within the nav bar. And below it would be the content of the page after you see the big hero image. And of course, you would change the background color to whatever background color you want for the body of the page. I just use something that has high contrast for demo purposes. Let's take another look at the variation of this, because this whole image showing up, maybe that's not what you want. You just want something that centers and a div of particular height, maybe not this full height of the image. To review what we currently have, we have the outer page, and then we have the nav bar, followed by this div that contains a hero image, followed by the page and all the content, all your columns and information would go within here. And then the outer div ends. I'm going to remove the image, and I'll put it back as a background image in a few moments. Let me just remove it now, and I'll just put hero right up here. Let's look at the page as it is. Let me give this hero image a class, and I'll call it class equals hero top. And in here, I'll define hero top. I already defined hero, the image, but let's ignore that for now. Hero top is something. It'll have a width of 100%. Let me give it a height of 500 pixels for now. Go back and change it. Maybe something a little more responsive. And a background color so we can see it. Background color, I'm just going to use green. Saved all that. Refresh. All right, now I can see things. I don't see my image. We'll get back to that. But at least now I can see my nav bar is still here. Word hero is bedded behind the navigation bar. And instead of green as the background, I want a background image. I want that background image to center. Go into the hero. Oh, had an extra little thing in my style. Had to get rid of that. And I'll use my background and I'll set that to URL. I'll get the semicolon at the end of this line. Within that URL parentheses goes in quotes image/tree.jpg or whatever image you're using. Save it and refresh the page. And there's the image. Let's deal with the sizing of that image, because right now it's just the whole image there. I'm going to type in background size, and I want the image to cover. Let's take a look. As the page becomes narrow, so does the image. As the page becomes wider, the image also becomes wider. So that's with background size cover, and the other option is contain. See, contain won't be as fun. Let me go back to cover.